Okay, well, hi everyone. Art Walk has just ended tonight, and we were demonstrating a very cool tag that is done with the water-soluble crayons and a squirt bottle and some really cool stamps. We're using the Christine Adolph stamps, which are some fun and funky florals. They're kind of watercolory and abstract by design, and so they make a really cool watercolor effect because you don't have to be too perfect with them. And with the watercolor technique, it kind of all blends together. It can be a little messy if you apply too much water. And these stamps, it doesn't really matter. So when you come to work in the studio this month, check out stamps that are from the F4 bin, or we'll have some out in August with this project, just sitting on the table for you to play with, just in case you're bored. When you come into the open studio session or you don't know what to work on, you can try all these cool new techniques here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is pick a stamp that you want to play with, and make sure it fits on a size piece of paper that you want to work with. I'm just working on shipping tags, but if you've been to the studio before, you know that we have bins and bins of all sorts of paper scraps. I encourage you to play with this technique at first on a scrap piece of paper, because then you will know just how much water you want to put on it. I'm going to pick a stamp to play with, and I'm going to color on the back of it. Yep, color right on the back of it. Not just with Crayola crayons though, but water-soluble crayons. And water-soluble crayons mean that they will blend with water. Putting some browns on. I love this technique. You can do a similar technique with other materials such as watercolor paints, and I can show you that next. But what I love about the crayons is they go on dry, so you don't have to hurry up and rush. You can apply your shading right where you want it. I'm assuming that you can see what I'm doing here. I don't have my videographer right now, but I did want to get this up in case you were planning to come to the studio this weekend. We have sessions going on every weekend, and just sit and play in the back. You don't have to take an expensive workshop. You can just come, and we have awesome partners that are working back here that can show you cool things like this. And I'm just getting all sorts of different shades. Don't be afraid of the tiny little pieces. Ooh, orange. I haven't put that on any tonight because they break off, but that's just great. Orange star. Put a little brown on the edge of that star. You see how fast I'm doing that. Just coloring on the back and getting different shades. Never quite done here. I love this blue. You have to make one tag, at least one tag with this blue. Okay, so these are made by Lyra or my favorite, Karen Dosh, but they all do the same thing. They blend with water, so make sure you're using water-soluble crayons. If you're in our studio, you'll look for the can that says that, Karen Dosh Neocolor 2s or water-soluble crayons. All right, and now we're going to squirt it with water. So in the studio, near the watercolor paints, we have twinkling H2Os. You can use the fine mist sprayer that's over there. If it's clogged, you might need to work it for a while, but it does deliver a fine mist, and there's a reason for that. If you use a big artsy spray bottle that I use when I do the acrylic painting, you'll get big globs of water, and you want a fine mist on this. You want to look to see that the crayon is moist and damp. If it gets too watery, then you're going to get a really watery image, but if it's not watery enough, it'll be dry and you won't get that color to transfer. So sometimes I just kind of spray it till I see the crayon get a little damp and looks like it's going to transfer. And then, let's see, I'm going to stamp it straight down. When I'm working on a table surface like this with a large stamp, sometimes what I do is I put it face up, and I put my paper on top. I'll put my finger in the middle, and I will run the brayer over it. Carefully move my finger and continue rolling it. And the reason I do that is it will press the paper into the stamp and I'll get a better image. That's a great technique to do with many of the very large stamps that we have in the studio. You might notice it's hard, especially with some of these plastic tables that dip in the middle. It seems like you don't get the middle of the stamp impression. Just turn the stamp over after you ink it, put your paper on top, and this is called a brayer, and you just roll your paper, kind of like a printmaking technique. That looks so cool, like I watercolored it. But you notice there's, kind of some plain areas around the outside of it. We know just what to do with those. Whenever you see a collage that is kind of like missing something, but you don't know what it is, this is a great time to add a piece of novel page to the side, which is really cool. I could add that on here or here. Sometimes this is kind of busy, but I put the novel page on first and then. So here's how you add the gold foiling, which is a great technique to add around your tags if you feel like you have some space and just something should belong there. Foiling can also make it look like an antiqued kind of effect if you put it randomly all over. It's like a gold leafing. You could see as I tilt it the shimmer of the metallic gold. But it is much cheaper. Instead of buying the gold leafing, it's more of a commercial foiling. It comes on big rolls, and we have it at the ARTbar. You could just buy little batches of it when you need to by the foot, and you can use all the pieces from the back of the sheet. So here you could kind of see where some have pulled off. You see kind of like a burnout effect, and what it does is it lifts the gold foil from the back. So you always use it by placing it with the shiny gold metallic side facing up. So let me show you how to do that. I use a glue stick. Actually, foiling does use a specific foiling application. It is an adhesive that, in gold leafing as well, an adhesive that will dry tacky. Glue sticks, as you know, they will dry. So if you put a little glue on your project and come back 5-10 minutes later, it's dry. So you do have to have the timing right. This is my favorite glue stick to use. It doesn't get too gooey, and you'll see that the timing is something you could just play with. And when you're using a glue stick, you're looking for kind of random accents anyways. So for example, with this one here, I might just kind of swipe it around the edges here. I might kind of randomly do that, get some at the top. You do have to work fast. By the time you finish swiping, you're probably ready to go, depending on how much you applied. And you press it down, almost rub it in there, and then lift it up. Now if you find that some of you could see I got a few swipes there, it's kind of showing you too much at one time, but I'll just concentrate on one area. If you find that your glue dries, you just apply more. So probably by the time you count to 3, you're ready to go. And there you have it. And as I tilt it, you could see if that shows up on the camera, how cool that does. I love to use this on the edges of my journal pages. They kind of stick together with that foil, kind of like a gilded book. I have that sample here to show you, but that's how you would add the gold foiling. And you could put as much or as little as you want around it. Sometimes another effect would be to use a metallic marker and just edge it with it if you wanted just a little. But you can also do the same thing with the foil. Just kind of edge it and just go, make sure to use the parts of the foil you haven't pulled the gold off yet. So you can even do it just to get a little on the edge if you wanted. Adds that nice antique kind of touch, the finishing effect. And of course, to finish it even further, you can just add some really pretty ribbons. And for those who get confused with adding ribbons, at the open house we found that actually it wasn't as easy for people to do as I thought. I just make a loop and I will put that loop through, and it works best with assorted fibers and ribbons. And we have a big drawer of fibers in the studio. You can also purchase ribbon, and it just really looks good when you mix tons of them together. So have fun with your tags adding these special touches. Oh, one more I wanted to show you. This is from Paper Artsy, a company in Europe that we have imported from. I'm just kind of tearing off any extras. This is sometimes called German scrap or foiled paper accents, and they come in packages that you can buy. So this would be an extra touch you might want to add on to your tab and add onto your project. These are fun. You could tear them apart and you can add them one at a time to your project if you like. One of my favorites is just a really simple border, kind of like a harlequin border here, and I usually line it up with the edge, and it's almost like a flat metallic charm, and that could really add something to the top if you wanted, or the bottom, or even the side. So great way to fill in space or add that extra touch. You could do a similar technique by painting on the back of the stamps using these Radiant Rain colors. It's like Twinkling H2O, which we have in the studio, but it's pre-mixed. It is going to be very, very wet, so apply it, but don't over. And when you're in the studio, take a look at our display board, and that will walk you step by step through this really cool project. You can spend hours just experimenting with all the stamps and all the different ways that you can apply the color. There it is. Have fun playing in the studio.